So you see, there was a lot of damage, a lot of trauma, a lot of violence, a lot of deceit that had literally crippled us in that journey from home, in our family groups. And even when we finally, and we tried many things, but when we came up with a plan that we now call Earth, we were functioning at maybe 20%, maybe, but with a lot of contracts, with a lot of ownership marks. I mean, we were not sovereign, we were not free, we were not glorious. Our juiciness had been captured and was being sucked away by parasitics. Even once we got onto the planet, when I started asking guidance, I was shocked at how those that we call ascended masters, teachers from the East, they were in this they were still in the construct that we're trapped, and we had to survive the best we could because we still were. Our Earth mission had been so crippled that even those who were guiding us, and if I showed you that would have been what, maybe, I don't even know if we started back, if that guidance started 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. Even at Christ's time, we were already trapped. There was a lot of information unavailable to us and ownership that was still crippling us. So we are in a very different place now. But let's go to Earth mission. What did we need as star beings, as star souls, and family collectives? We needed to get out from under the masters, the dominators, what I call the outsiders. We were on their plan. They'd come in and taken over our space, our energy. They'd create a plantation. We were living on it. And we were under their thumb, and you just didn't say to them, well, that's been great, now we're going to walk away. They owned us, they needed us, and if they sucked us dry, they just find somebody else. We were dying, but we never gave up, because that's the resilience and the commitment of star beings. We never gave up. So secretly in the seventh world, that's when the 7 families came together and said, maybe we can come up with let's work together as a group. Before that, individual 7 families came together and secretly began to make plans. What did the plan need? We needed a way to make energy of outsiders discernible. We'd know what it was, because they lied, they were deceitful, they mind controlled. I mean, we were like up a creek because their energy was so slippery, and we'd see it and then it was gone, and then it was slippery. We needed a way to make that energy discernible, slow it down and capture, not capture it, but slow it down enough that we could see, aha. We needed to make it slower. What makes it slower? A physical field. Energy that's fast in a physical space pretty soon slows down. We need a physical field so energy of the outsiders could be discerned. We needed that. Great, okay, we can see them. What do we do next? Well, we need to be able to have someone with authority that says, I see you, that could speak to those who were willing and able to help us from outside of our family, that we could have them come in because we gave them permission. We had to have somebody with authority to give permission for others in Laniakea, which is the greater system, to come in and identify, contain, and remove those energies and the agendas. But none of us had authority. What were we going to do? Well, we also needed a way for us in our star family, in our star field, fast frequency, to walk around on this physical planet. So we needed a vehicle. We needed an Earth suit. Okay, so here we sit. What are we going to do? Well, We looked through and sent invitations that asked for who in Laniakea would be willing for us to hold the field so that our families could hopefully get rid of the outsiders. Who would hold that space for us? Well, in the Milky Way, there's this planet called Earth, Gaia, who said, I'll be glad to do that for you. Slower frequencies, I'll be the field on which you can do your mission. Okay, we got that. Well, we said to Gaia, and we will commit to you to do no damage. Because that's the kind of beings we are. If you'll just give us space, we'll get this thing done and bless you and keep you well. Okay, that was in place. Well, we needed a body, so we're geniuses. We designed the body, numbers, systems, colors. We know how to design we need a blueprint for a bodysuit that would have the wiring and the ability for the soul to be in there and move around. Okay. Well, what if we had two bodysuits? Because if we had one bodysuit, that bodysuit could have a place for two contracts or ownership marks, two software programs of ownership and monitoring. We would just put it in this body. So the outsiders would think that there's two, but it's just one body walking around. Two ownerships in this body suit. Now the souls already have this frequency, but if the soul could take the software program and put it over in this other bodysuit, that would leave one soul free of ownership. That soul free of ownership would have the right to say they can't be in our world. That soul would have the right of authority voice. Well, how are they going to know? Well, let's put in this body suit the sensitivity to discern the frequencies of good and the frequencies that take away good. So this body suit could be more sensitive so that this body then, through the sensitivities, could go like, something's not okay over there off to my right. I can feel it is constricting. It makes my skin prickle, whatever. So this bodysuit's going to be owned by the parasitic, monitored by the parasitics. This bodysuit will appear as if it won't even appear on their monitoring, but will have the power to discern good and not good. And the authority voice to connect with those beings out of the galactic world into Laniakea to say, remove it. And because the authority exists within the family on the planet, that energy will be removed. Getting it? So we have a place to play out, Gaia. It's going to be a physical. We have bodies to carry the souls around. So the soul is not the body's not the soul. It's a vehicle, just like moon suits. One body is going to carry two ownership programs, which will free up one soul to walk as an authority with sensitivity and connection to command. Perfect. Well, hey, in those other worlds, group mind talks about discussion and consensus, and it takes a lot of time to figure things out. So that's too slow for decisions, especially when it comes to parasitics, because they're very slippery, they're very fast. So let's not do group consensus. Let's do individual voice. You speak your word, you are answered. Individual choice, individual words. We are not 100th monkey down here. Okay, sounds good. So that was the Earth plan. We had to make those outsiders extinct, or we would die. No doubt about it. It had happened before. We had to make the outsiders extinct. We have a field, a physical field, so energy will slow down. So energy that's very high speed slows down, and pretty soon it becomes slower and slower and discernible to the body that is picking up discernment, picking up those vibrations. And that body has the authority to say, not in our world, take that back, remove it from our space. And when that's cleared from, when the outsiders are cleared from this space of Earth, the command goes throughout the entire galactic worlds, because on the planet is where the power of authority resides. You have greater power in your bodysuit, in a female bodysuit, than anybody else in the whole galaxy. I don't care if they're ascended masters, archangels, no. They cannot command like you can. They can answer and they can expand and they can guide, but they cannot command. That's Earth mission. That's why you're here in this mess. So those who come into, those souls who have no gender, they're not agendered. They come into a bodysuit with 2 ownership marks. We call it the male body, and those marks are in, and those programs are in the testicles. Ownership of the bodysuit resided with the outsiders, the male body. From the beginning, we created that way, and the program was for the soul in the male, the coming into the male body would be bringing in energy from the crown chakra, flowing it out through the heart. Nurturer, nurturer, nurturer. High energy, not involved, distracting, sitting on the side of the stream, sitting in meditation, whatever. The outsider's watching for when this being gets off his duff and starts digging the dirt. When's he going to start the mining? When is he going to start digging in the dirt and pulling out the riches? He's not. It's not his job. His job is to sit, keep those outsiders at bay, and feed the village, the heart energy. He would appear as if he's doing nothing. The soul choosing to come into a female body is right through the crown chakra, coming in, activating all down the midline of the body, right down to the feet, to say to Gaia, I'm here. I'm with you, sister. Let's do this job. Commitment to Gaia, keeping her secure, working with her, appreciating her, and then down into the earth, into the mycelium, the roots of the other sisters, of the others in female bodies. Talking about stuff. What do you think? What's it feeling like? Lots of stuff going on that outsiders don't even know. The next chakra is the base chakra, to come up and say, okay, let's see, where do I want my little group to be? Where's a good place on the planet? Let's find where we're going to be. Base chakra. And in the original launch, there was coming onto the planet Earth several times, probably 6 or 7 times at least, before the actual landing crew 600,000 years ago. We realized the bodysuit has nothing to do at that point with anything except giving us a way to move around. It was a bodysuit to help us move around. Telepathic, yes. Talking to other villages, yes. There were 90 of the original volunteers, because it's a volunteer mission. Nobody is forced into this mission called humanity. 45 in male bodies, 45 in female bodies, not to partner. If they partnered, the outsiders would know that there's a female body here. They had to stay distant. They had to have their own place because they had a different mission at first. But there were 90 who came in that initial landing, and they landed in 6 different points on the planet 600,000 years ago. The men sitting on the side of the stream, sitting in meditation, doing their sending good juju into the area for women to weave with, women discussing with each other, talking about what's going to be good, what's not going to be good in their 6 villages. And then when they have a plan for the village and community, they know the policies they're going to set. Where's the garden going to be? What kind of food do they want to try? I mean, they've got to figure out how to make the mission force thrive. How can they survive on this planet? It's a whole new ballgame. Took a long time. And the women's job was to land, connect with Gaia, stewardship with her, connect with other sisters, with other females in the mycelium, creating that network in the earth. Then looking around, base chakra, what do we need? 6 different villages. So they each came up with what they would need to thrive. Now so the women have done the base chakra, what's needed. They've done the manifestation, the birthing. They've used the law of manifestation to birth, so they know how to take thoughts and create form by holding it. They've used the law of manifestation. They've birthed villages, policies, food, how to be together. They were the leaders. Females were intended to be the leaders. Males were intended to be the nurturers. And that's how it was originally. And they had lush gardens. So here's where we get into what's important to know for you and me. And this is where we can use the Garden of Eden story, because it's a myth. It talks in a way that helps us know what happened, but it happened 200,000 years ago. It didn't happen in the timeline that we see in the Christian and the Judeo-Christian. That's not when it happened. It happened 200,000, 250,000 years ago. So here's the villages. And the villages independently have policies. They're doing well. Everything's thriving. This is not about having children. This is not about having children at all. It's about getting rid of outsiders. Do you think we would bring children into this mess? No, it's not what we were going to do. So I don't call them the original clan mothers and fathers. No, they were the original clan creators, but they weren't mothers and fathers in the sense we see. They have a lush garden. And so who shows up for the woman, for the soul in a female bodysuit, but the serpent. The serpent. The serpent was the next phase of the female mission. She'd already landed, made commitments to Gaia. She'd already built the network within Gaia. She already saw how it was here. They made policies. They'd gotten the food in place. They were working together. They were telepathically village to village, knowing what was going on. The women, the men were off keeping things quieted. Now that was in place. That was only to foundation the work. It wasn't the work. It was to foundation so that they could stay on the planet. And then the serpent appears in the myth. Very important, critically important, because the serpent represents wisdom. Sophia wisdom, we call it. She was the holder of the next phase of the female mission. Gaia held the first, Sophia housed the second. And so the serpent or Sophia went, and Sophia is a collective. So the villages were visited by Sophia, which we have been told is a serpent, to say to the women, oh my gosh, look what you've got in this garden. And now it's time for me to come and activate your knowledge of good and evil. What is good? What is not good? It's time to activate your wisdom center. So she takes the women into the garden where there is they'll say a tree, but the tree is the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil. What's the knowledge? The sensitivity to discern, to taste. Energy that comes from outsider, which is going to destroy. Energy that comes from outsider on this planet, this is what it tastes like, feels like, smells like. This is outsider energy showing up on the planet because it's here. And this is what it is like. Discernment. And you've done all these beautiful things. You know what good taste, smells, feels like, because they already had done that in their community. We don't have to know evil to know good. No, we had to know good in order to identify its opposite, which is the destruction of the outsider. Okay, so the tree of knowledge of good and evil was for the female's mission. And the story is told that Eve, we'll say Eve, but it's representative of the women, were excited to know, oh, this is what evil tastes like. Oh, this is what evil smells and appears as. They were excited about that. Because now they have already discerned, know what good feels, tastes like. Now they get to see what take away good feels like. Exactly what was their mission. And they were excited. So what happened? In one village, one woman was too excited, and her excitement invited a male component to come and test. And as soon as that female body was close enough to the male, which was being monitored, she showed up as a bleep of life that the outsiders did not know about. And as they scanned, they saw they did not own her. So when in the story it says Eve invited Adam, and Eve made a mistake to invite Adam, therefore she caused Adam to sin. Now, she got too close to Adam, maybe made the invitation in her excitement. But what happened is then the outsiders became aware that there was a presence on the planet they had not known about and did not own. So the story of Lilith is them coming to Lilith and say, let go of the snake, let go of the serpent, and we'll give you all these rewards. Try to soft talk her, sweet talk her into letting go of her mission. Lilith would not let go. That's why she's covered with serpents, and why she's made bad by our culture of domination. Lilith would not let go. So another one was approached. We call her Eve. And by this time, the outsiders knew they were up against some pretty powerful thinking in this mission force. So they started broadcasting into that village you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're just learning. So when they approached Eve, Eve said to herself, I don't think I know enough. I think I'm going to go along until I get a little bit stronger. And she, in essence, gave permission for the outsiders to come in because she didn't stand up and say no. And as soon as they had that permission, they used the male body to damage the females in the village in order to attach cords to them. They didn't own them, but they attached ownership cords to them. And then they began the project of invasion. Because if there is a body, a presence unknown that has authority in one village, it's probably in every village. And they began going from village to village. At that point, there were 9. They went to the 9 villages, specifically looking for the female body, specifically targeting, damaging her body in order to get through her boundaries and put attachments on. Now that bodysuit is owned by the outsiders. They went a step further and they crippled the power centers of both bodies. So they unplugged the wiring in the male bodysuit from the heart center. So the heart center was no longer guidance. And they placed the guidance for males in the gonads. And they unplugged the power center of discernment with solar plexus from the female bodysuit and plugged her into the heart to serve without discernment. You have to obey no matter what. The bodysuits were crippled at that point, Cro-Magnons. About 250, 300,000 years ago, the bodysuits were crippled. The DNA was crippled. The chakra point centers were diminished and crippled. So Eve, well, Lilith has been demonized even more than Eve, Pat, because she stood up. She would not let go and has not let go, and she would not let go. But Eve has been demonized because we have to blame women because they're the problem. So Eve represents a problem of women being not good. They are sinful. Everything they do is sinful. We have to punish them in so many ways. And we'll take a 10-minute break. And then I'm going to put you into groups and let you talk for a little bit and see what this is all about for you. The outsiders that's a term I use for any family members, and realize those who created agendas way in the galactic worlds that are parasitic by nature. Some of them are voyeuristic, some control, some are greed. Anything that are voyeuristic, dominating, greed, they destroy. They're going to use other people's energy to the point of death. They're everything contrary to that which is divine good wholeness. I call them outsiders. And it's not a double body, Shakti. It's 2 bodies, a female body and a male body. Got it? So the male body has had a specific purpose. The female body had a specific purpose in the plan. It was great. But now we see that both those bodies got crippled, and they have remained crippled from that point on. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, come back. We'll see you back in 10.